true that
Yeah.
sometimes it's easier to
Import, yeah.
import something from Europe straight to an African country than taking it from one to the other.
Thobo, I'm glad we could find a man to join us on this. I have to say, this is the first time I've hosted a panel where men are the minority. Welcome. An Uber for tutors. Tell me what you're up to. I'm fascinated.
First of all, thank you very much for having me. My name is Thobo. I'm from a country called Botswana, just north of South Africa. I started a business called Lion Tutoring, which is a tutoring company. So I started in the year 2015. So we're just tutoring students, all curricula, your IGCSE, your A-levels, your IB. And it's in the year 2018 that we had our mobile app, which is like Uber for tutors. So it basically just connects the tutors anywhere in the world to the students. Just the way you would order an Uber on a platform, we have our platform on the Google Play Store. So you can even download the platform. I see most people here are parents, so you can just download the platform. So basically, when we started in 2015, we didn't do much in terms of sales. But after we applied our app, or we had the app on the Google Play Store, we had sales booming. We also have a branch in South Africa. So we had students all over the world, as far as UK, as far as Canada. And also with the pandemic, people staying at home, they were able to connect through our platform. And through that, I was able to be listed on the Forbes 30 under 30 class of 2020. I made it on the cover, and it was the first for my country.
Well done. Congratulations. Just to move things on, I think what we need to tackle is what worries you the most as entrepreneurs? What are the big issues that you're facing day to day in your business? Is there anything from a policy perspective that can change to make your lives easier and also give you a sense of security that your business is sustainable in an ever-changing world? Thobo, let's start with you. Okay, Birame, let's start with you. Okay.
I think the first thing is with Africa, our data costs are very high. I know with most countries, for you to just get a gigabyte of data, you spend a lot of money to get that. So you'll find that most parts of the country, people have smartphones, but they're not connected to the global community because the data costs are really high. So I think from a government perspective, it really would help. Like we've seen in the pandemic, that governments are able to actually work with your ISPs to lower the data costs, because to get more people, playing in the data space, you need to be able to get them accessed, by lowering the data costs. And also we just talked about the AFCFTA. I was in her country last year, and we had the AFCFTA conference. But you'd find that most countries would have signed the agreement, but they haven't ratified, and they haven't really implemented the AFCFTA. So those are some of the things that governments could do to help.
Thank you. Birame.
So, thank you. One of the things I think for me that keeps me up at night right now is as we're growing in terms of just being able to export our African products from local suppliers, what we're realizing is the demand is there, and everybody's paying attention to Africa right now, especially on the agriculture side. It's the future of Africa. And that demand, in order to meet it, we need these local suppliers to be able to grow. And they need access to the raw material. What we are finding right now is that this raw material is being exported before our local suppliers even have access to it. They do not have access to the best quality. The prices are increasing overnight for local products. Last year in Senegal, we had to wait about 6 months of out of stock of hibiscus. Cashew nuts are being exported like it's nothing. And I believe where governments in Africa could help is putting in place some sort of policies that help these local suppliers have access to that raw material.
Do they have the means to process those goods that you speak of?
They do have.
So if the cashew nuts would stay, would they be able to process it, final packaging and the whole value chain?
It is working, and that's some of the work that we're doing with them in terms of fixing some of the areas of the value chain. I believe on the infrastructure side for the processing, it is working. We have Chef Pierre Cham, who introduced Fonio in the United States. Nobody knew about Fonio, and now he's in about 6,000 store locations in the US, Whole Foods, Target, and others. And they just received funding in order to build that infrastructure to be able to do the transformation of Fonio in Mali, in Guinea, and in Senegal. So I believe the funding is there to be able to do it, because when we talk about the transformation, we're talking about industrialization, it's about funding and equipment. So I think it's more a question of having access.
Thank you so very much. Tafara, would you like to add? I know you mentioned some of the problems that you face. Is there anything you would like to add?
Definitely. I think I'll also then touch on something that I'm passionate about, the digital skills development and the digital literacy levels that are there in my country and even across Africa. I believe that if we could get enough partnerships, we can actually reach out to train more people. I'll tell you how I financed some of this project. When I was still employed, I would finance the digital skills training programs using my salary. That's how passionate I was. Then in 2021, I decided to move to becoming a full-time entrepreneur. That is when I realized that this is more than just me financing with what I get, but I think I can build more by partnering with organizations. And I think currently I've got 2 organizations that I'm working with. One is the local Zimtrade organization, which is grooming young people and women for export. So I then partnered with them as a consultant to also offer digital skills development for the people that are running through the programs. And I've also partnered as a consultant with ITC. I'm managing their platform, which is called Ecom Connect, which is actually grooming more than 6,000 right now e-commerce entrepreneurs. So I've then discovered through the year that I was working with ITC and Zimtrade, as long as we have the right partners to push the knowledge of digital skills and digital trade, we can actually make it. Because one thing, even if we want to make the policies work, even if we want the finances and all, if there is not enough literacy in the digital trade, then we won't be able to get the results that we want. So I believe that if I am to get more partners, more financiers, and making sure that information about digital trade is disseminated in all areas, even marginalized communities, we can definitely make it.
Fantastic, thank you. Olajumoke, would you like to weigh in?
Yes, thank you again. So at KJK Africa, because we deal directly with the businesses themselves, and we know the challenges that they face, and somehow we were able to get on ease of doing business in 2018 in Nigeria because of the things that we see that these businesses are facing that is not allowing them scale. Because I think that the technology part or building the product itself is one of the easiest. You know, when you have done your research, it's easy to now build the technology. It's now sustaining the business to actually continue. That's now the bigger problem. So what that led to us building another product in Africa that bridges the gap for those that do not have smartphones and do not have bank accounts. There's a product called Alajo. It is the digital piggy bank for the unbanked and non-smartphone user. So we help our customers use SMS and USSD to save money every day, because the nation's savings power is actually on those people who form 73% of the nation's saving power. And these people do not have access to smartphones like they've talked about, or internet access, or some of them do not see the value of data. And these are the problems that we need to see and look at and say, how do we solve these problems, and how do we look at it from the cultural perspective? Because now, for instance, there's a huge problem with trust. While building Alajo, I realized that I began to work with the grassroots population itself. That's the most people. I realized that there's a cultural problem, because when policies are made, especially with the government, they don't look at the way, or they don't research how exactly these people can carry out this product or these policies or these services that they want them to carry out. So it is very important that research is done deliberately on those that you are actually politicizing, the products you are politicizing, the systems that you are politicizing. So it is important that that man that is going to be the end user can actually use the product or implement it just the way you are politicizing. Like they've also said, they talked about funding. Funding is huge. I'm talking about e-commerce is the least funded industry in Africa. Is least attractive too. Like she had said, it's very heavy in operations. The technology part is so easy to solve, but the other aspects that has to do with operational values, manpower, skill is definitely not getting it very attractive for people to invest in. So now part of the things the international communities can do for us is to look into putting funds aside for e-commerce so that it can boom and facilitate digital trade.
Brilliant.
Like, funding businesses that, upscale people in that scale, and also businesses that also help, people grow their e-commerce, sustain it, and so that they can continue.
Brilliant, thank you. The technology part is easy, everything else is tough, right? I like that line.
Yes.
Brilliant, fantastic, yes. Your Excellency, please, let me...
I want to jump here because we're one of the main investors.
Have you got a microphone on? Okay, fantastic.
We're one of the main investors in Africa. And in the last 3 years, throughout the pandemic, we saw so many transformation happening in the sector itself. One of the main challenge is the capital itself. Sometimes the money is there, but we don't know who to reach out.